What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burning Hammer podcast. And we have a very special episode today. It is the first of hopefully many of a series of interviews we do with many wrestlers throughout the thing, throughout our time as a podcast. We had the pleasure of meeting this young man at WrestleMania in our hometown here in Philadelphia. He traveled up for night 2 of WrestleMania, and we had the pleasure of meeting him and exchanging some words. And he let us know that he was doing his thing as a wrestler, and we did our research, and we were excited to have him on the podcast. So he has worked for companies like OWC Wrestling, SWA Wrestling. He is an SWA Grand Slam champion. From Seneca, South Carolina, please welcome Cade Powers.
Hey, thank you for having me, sirs. I'm excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you on.
Yeah, so
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
man.
Dillon said it. We met Cade night 2, WrestleMania. And we had to get him on. This is something we want to do more, is to get more wrestlers on here as guests and interview them. So I want to start at the very beginning. I want to start, and I want to ask you, do you have a certain memory, or maybe it's a certain wrestler that you watched for the first time, and then you said, I'm addicted to wrestling now?
Well, I do have that memory. It's kind of like a niche choice of mine, but it's like my first ever memory. And my mom is a huge super fan, so I was pretty much born into it. But like my very first memory of professional wrestling is JBL, face to face with Kurt Angle. But I remember being like in awe of JBL for some reason. I loved JBL when I was like real little, and like he's still today like in my top 5 of all time list, just because of the nostalgic. And I don't know why, for some reason I love JBL so much, but like first ever memory, it was him face to face with Kurt Angle.
Yeah, I mean, JBL, I think he's like, for our generation, he's got to be like one of the best heels. I just remember him just clotheslining the hell out of people, man. He was on a different level for us growing up.
Yeah, and growing up, I always found more of a connection with the heels anyway, so JBL was definitely up there for me.
Awesome. Cade, I want to ask, like, how old were you when you decided that this was something that you wanted to take and do more than a hobby, and you actually wanted to pursue this as a pro wrestler? Like, what age, and like what made you like really decide to take that step? Or like, all right, I'm not just gonna be a fan anymore. I'm going to try to get in the ring and do this thing.
Well, I was 14 years old, and I was at one of my buddy's house. And at the time, I didn't realize that independent wrestling existed. Like, I thought WWE was just it for wrestling. I was very much not aware of all the wonderful shows around me. And his mom actually was friends with one of the dudes up there. And this was actually SWA, my home company. And we went up there, and I remember just walking in, and I was in awe. I was like, jaw to the floor, like, what the heck? I didn't know what I was walking into, and it was like a broke down old barn with an old wrestling ring. And I was like, what? And yeah, man, as soon as I stepped in the door there, I started talking to whoever I needed to talk to. I'm like, I need to come back here tomorrow. I need to do this. And literally the next week I was taking bumps in the ring.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Because and I just want you to know how much like we applaud you and respect you, because so many people just like have that thought of like, yeah, one day we're gonna be professional wrestlers, but not too many people will actually take that next step and say, hey, I'm gonna try and do this. So that's really cool to hear, because it's just you don't get to see it too often. Um, so talk us through the training process before you had your first match. How long did you have to train for before you got to go to have your first match?
Okay, so everyone's different, obviously. Uh, I've seen people come into the business and be wrestling in like 2 months' time. I've seen people never make it. I've seen it take a long time. Me personally, SWA went through a little bit of a falling out period, switching around, so I wasn't able to train on a consistent basis. It was very wishy-washy, and it took me about 3 years to have my first uh, match. I was actually a manager for like a year before I started wrestling, and my first match was a battle royal in I think the year was 2017. It was a battle royal I was in. I just had like a little get in there and get out kind of spot, but I mean it was awesome. I still remember the whole day. It was an amazing experience. So
Is that a popular thing to do for wrestlers, is to take on like a managerial role before they actually like have a match, or is that kind of something like that you just decided to do?
a lot of guys, uh, a lot of guys want to get into the show aspect any way they can. So they'll either do a managerial role, ring announcing, referee, security, uh, anything to really just get out in front of that audience, just to feel that feeling. Uh, and that was me personally. I was just ready to go. I was not the best wrestler at the time. I knew that, but I was ready to get out there. I had a friend that trained with me. He picked up wrestling really quick. So he was already wrestling, and I was just like, I want to manage you just so I can get out there. So I started actually managing my good buddy.
That's awesome.
Very cool. That's all. Okay, what was like? And you mentioned that feeling, like getting out there in front of the crowd. Specifically, after that first match, can you kind of describe like, I don't know, like what was that feeling like after that first match? And I don't know, you were able to kind of go out and you were like, wow, I'm a pro wrestler now. Like I've done a match. Like I'm really doing this thing.
Man, there's no drug in the world that could replicate the feeling of going out there and doing what we do. Um, it was the high of all highs, man. I remember it took me several weeks to come down from that high. It was just a really good night. I just kept thinking, man, I used to just sit and watch these guys on TV, and God, I just looked up to them so much, and now people are doing that to me, and it was just like a really, really humbling experience, man. It was awesome.
So why don't you take us through sort of like what the wrestling scene is like where you grew up? Is there a lot of like different independent companies around there? Because me and Dillon are both from the Philadelphia area, so we kind of like have access to a lot of like different companies. But like, what's it like where you kind of made your way?
Georgia is very, very oversaturated. There's literally wrestling shows everywhere you look. They're all there's an abundance. The only bad part I find about shows is if you're a fan. Obviously, if you're a worker like myself, it's awesome to have all these shows. You get all these different opportunities to get out there and work. But the problem with all these companies is a lot of them use the same talent. So it's kind of hard for a fan to find something fresh. It's always the same faces every company. So it's kind of like if I was a fan, I'd kind of want to see some new faces every now and again. But as a worker, it's amazing because you can wrestle pretty much every day of the week if you really wanted to.
That's awesome. Actually, I have a question. Actually, Kate, have you had the opportunity yet to wrestle outside of Georgia at all?
Yes, I have wrestled in my home state of South Carolina. I've been to North Carolina, Virginia, and that's it so far.
Very
Did I
cool.
say
Well,
North
hopefully we can
Carolina?
keep adding to that list. Yes.
Okay, yeah, North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, South Carolina. Yeah, I am trying to add to the list. My dream is to wrestle in Florida because I love Florida. It'd be really cool to have like a beach experience kind of show down there.
Yeah, that would be super sick.
Totally.
What's when you were training before you had your first match? Because it took 3 years. A lot of guys, it may take shorter. Some guys, it may take even longer. Did you have any doubts in your training process in those 3 years before you had your first match, or did you ever just sort of have like, maybe this isn't for me?
Oh man, I had an abundance of doubts. Just to see all my friends that I went in there with just progress so much further than me in such little amounts of time. It took me like a long time to just pick up on little things that you have to pick up on if you want to perform. It was very disheartening to see everybody and people come in after me and outshine me. And yeah, there was a lot of doubts. But persevered at the end of the day, and from my training, camp, I'm actually the only guy still in the business, so I held out and I lasted. So
Hell yeah. Yeah,
There
that's
you
awesome.
go. Survival of the fittest. That's what. Well, and they say constantly. I mean, and as fans of the business, it's not for the faint of heart, and it definitely we, like you said, we can't say enough how much. I mean, can't have wrestling fans without wrestlers, and that's on every single level. And so we have the utmost respect, and and we're just grateful for you and guys like you.
thank you.
Yeah, man, of course. So bring it back to like the training days and first getting into that first match. Like, is there anybody in the business that you kind of consider like a mentor to you? That kind of is there anybody from your area or who helped train you, or even just another wrestler that you met along the way who kind of who you feel like was almost kind of a mentor to you?
Yeah, I have a lot of mentors in wrestling. Obviously, the owner of SWA Wrestling, Jackie Owens, will always be like a father to me. He took me under his wing, kept me at his company for so long. I can't say enough kind words about him. His son, Lane, was actually the one who initially trained me. Um, he's a tremendous worker, and then moving past that, whenever I took a little time off and came back in the year 2021, I had my friend Jackson Carter sharpen up my skills. Uh, we were hitting it like every day of the week, just trying to get me right, get new moves and my body right, my stamina up. And most recently, my good buddy Tower, who had just bust back on the scene last year, he's a big vet, and he's kind of taken me under his wing this year, putting me on like a new diet plan, shedding pounds, and trying to make the best version of me. And he came in when I was like at a real low point, self-esteem wise. So he's a great mentor as well.
Yeah, that's good to hear because you need a lot of mentors and you need a lot of good people surrounding you, especially in this business. So
Yeah, I'd say in a business like this, it definitely seems like just keeping those good few people around you is very key, and seems like you got that, which is awesome. That's really great to hear, man.
you're getting ready, you're training, you're getting ready to have your first match. What is the process of trying to figure out like what moves you're gonna do, sort of what your gimmick is gonna be? Like, how was it difficult to sort of come up with like I'm gonna do like this and that, like this will be my signature, and then this will be my finisher? Like, how do you come up with that stuff?
So a little behind the curtains for you fellas. I don't know how much y'all spent around actual workers in the business. Um, if you're getting prepared for your first match, 9 times out of 10, I'm sure you fellas know what this is, a squash match.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, unless you're really freaking good, you're going out there to get your ass kicked. So that's pretty much what I was preparing for. Finding moves and signatures and finishers was way, way into the future. But, that's what the top tier trainers are for. They're there to help you come up with moves. If you see something on TV and you want to replicate it, and that's what they're there for, to keep everything safe. For the longest time, I kept it simple. For a finisher, I used one of my other favorite wrestlers, Mark Henry. I just used his finisher. I used the World's Strongest Slam for a long time. So, something simple and devastating.
Yeah, and and I know like one of the biggest rules is that you want something that you can pretty much hit on anybody, and you want it to be able to look good. So yeah, that's definitely
That's why it's hard for small guys when they come into the business, especially at the training school that I do now. Small guys will come into the business, and we'll have to work hours trying to find them a move they can hit on me because I'm 300 pounds. If they can hit it on me, they can hit it on anybody. So,
Cade, tell me a little bit about like the development of your gimmick kind of over the years and stuff, because correct me if I'm wrong, just like based off the little bit of research I did, it seemed like you kind of came in, or you had your first major success in tag team wrestling.
yeah.
And then you you made the transition over to a singles wrestler, and so kind of tell me about I guess like going into tag team wrestling and what that gimmick was like and kind of figuring that out, but then also having to go from there and then branch out into your own and kind of rediscover yourself.
So, this is kind of like a real whirlwind of a story. Whenever I first kind of came into wrestling, the dude I was managing, we had this real good idea. He was going to be like a jock character, and I was the nerd guy. Who was trying to transform, you've seen it 1,000 times in movies, you're trying to transform the nerdy person into a jock or a athlete or whatever. That was like the whole initial gimmick. So I was in there doing it. We were doing it, doing some tag team stuff. We had our manager. He was cool. He was kind of like a hobo that I picked up along the way. The only word he could say was spare change. So it was real funny. And then my friend kind of just abruptly left the business. And I was kind of just left to fend for myself there. And that's when I found my new tag team partner, the big fella you've probably seen in the photo, Big Rick, we call him. He's like 500 pounds, 6'5", big dude. I kind of found him, and we just cut a promo, and the promoters absolutely loved it, and they immediately stuck us into the title picture. The night that we won the titles, we didn't even know we were winning the titles. Our opponent just held Big Rick down and said congratulations. So it was like actually a real moment for us.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
like a genuine kind of reaction. So, uh, fast forward about 5, 6, 7 months, the promoter walks up to me and says he wants to turn me heel. This kind of took me like massively by surprise because I had no clue what I was doing. And this is where the story kind of gets wonky. My brother actually invites me to like this Friendsgiving, party. Long story short, I get plastered, right? So I'm drunk at this party, and I just start talking to this dude. He's my brother's friend, and he basically just pitches this whole thing where he's like an evil doctor, and he's like transformed my mind. I'm kind of like Frankenstein. He kind of like probed me, and not probed me. I should use a better word than that. Brainwashed me and made me evil. So the next show, I turned on Big Rick and I emerged with my new evil doctor, and it kind of birthed this new like serial killer. I'm a serial killer, and he's the whole mastermind behind it type gimmick, and people loved it. We made banging promos, which is a lot of what you don't see in Georgia wrestling is good promos, and we made movie style promos that I'm very, very proud of. Yeah, I just basically got a dude who'd never been in the business a day in his life, and he just pitched me this whole thing, and I was like, you know what? Come with me.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
That is pretty great.
So, how, for like people who may not know, maybe like a casual fan or even like me and Dillon, how like difficult, like how much do you have to work to like cut a promo and like working on like promo skills?
Oh wow, man. Dude, we used to spend sometimes days filming promos, because we don't film the typical set your phone up like this and look here, brother, this is what I'm gonna do to you this weekend. No, we actually put genuine effort in, and we tried to make we call them theatrical promos. And I don't know if y'all watched any of them on my page, but I'm very proud of them, and it's very hard work.
I definitely took the time to and watch some of it, and that's why I was so interested to ask you about your gimmick, because there's there's different things that people love in wrestling, but I know for me and Mark specifically, just like the different layers of storytelling and different things is pretty much is really our favorite part. So it seemed like you were really talented in that aspect of just putting so much thought behind your craft, really. So it just seemed like you were doing.
And that's all. That's like my promos were okay when I was still in the nerd era, but I really have my manager, Dr. Happy Side, to thank for kind of upping my game with that kind of stuff, because he's a computer whiz. So he was really good at editing. I kind of just got to kick back while he edited. It's a lot of hard work, so I have him to thank tremendously for all of that.
So, did you was there any inspiration for this gimmick, or do you currently draw on have any inspiration from different wrestlers in the business, or maybe it's something you saw in a TV show or a movie? Do you have are you drawing any inspiration from anything, any other media?
Like I said, man, I don't think I've ever came up with my own gimmick, because I got the nerd thing from my buddy, and then I got the whole Cade Powers serial killer stick from Happy Sad. I enjoy doing it. Do I draw inspiration? I'm not really for drawing inspiration, because I kind of just want Cade Powers to be his own entity. So when it comes to character work, I try to keep it original. Obviously, moves in the ring, those are there's hardly any move you can do nowadays that's original. But as for character, I try to keep it as original as possible because I know there's tons and tons of dark gimmicks out there. So I just try to make mine different.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really respectable too.
Yeah, and I
What were
know
you gonna
I
say,
like
Mark?
definitely like I like darker gimmicks like that and stuff because
Yeah,
like
Mark's
one thing
always
me and
been a
Dylan
darker gimmick
we always
guy.
say, and like we'll say this to like our friends and stuff, but like in wrestling, like magic is real, so it's just like one of the cool things to like get sort of gimmicks like that. Like we always do enjoy that. So how do you get into like the mindset of Cade Powers prior to a match?
Oh, well, to be honest, it's a lot of walking around backstage slapping the shit out of myself. I usually do that about 30 minutes before it's time to go out there. I get myself real pissed off and banging my head on walls and hitting myself, and Happy Sad's just behind me, cheering it on. And kind of just like he's actually getting his monster ready to go to war. He's just in the background. Yeah, Cade! Yeah, Cade!
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much our little warm-up kind of ritual. It works. It does the job. It gets me ready to go out there and, make some babies cry.
Hell yeah, like a proper heel should. So, I'm interested to know. You kind of told us a little bit about like winning the tag team champion chips, and that was your first title win, and kind of being in that moment where your tag team partner was kind of held down and said congratulations, like you guys were actually surprised by that moment.
Yeah.
But what about like your first singles championship? Tell us a little bit about that. Like what was that moment like for you?
Man, it meant a hell of a lot. And, I worked my ass off to get to that goal. And carrying the whole story because my opponent, like, I'm not shitting on anybody by any means, but my opponent he just wasn't putting in the work to make it intriguing. And I was making flyers, I was making promos, I was doing this, I was doing that. I had like a professional kind of like music video filmed for my new entrance theme. I did all these things, and the match was a casket match, so that's always been a dream match for me to be in. And I think me and him, in the aspect of the match, knocked it out of the park because we were co-main, and whenever I shut him in that casket, and I was starting to walk away, half the stadium got up and left. They thought that the show was over, so I think I did my job.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, and that's awesome to be able to do that in a situation like you said, a dream match of yours. I don't know. You think about winning the championship, but you never think about like doing it in, I don't know, in like a dream sort of match scenario.
For wrestling, it's kind of not like boxing where you gotta go out there and knock your opponent out if you want that championship.
Mm-hmm.
For wrestling, you're about to get that championship, so it's all about the journey and the hard work you put in to get there. That's the real feelings.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Actually, having it get put in your hand, it's just like all that hard work paying off. Feels good.
Yeah, totally. Like I always try to tell people who like don't understand wrestling. I try to tell it's almost like a promotion in a certain sort of way at work or just it's a reward for the amount of work that you've put in and the good work that you've been putting out there. And that's kind of how I've always kind of seen title belts because it's not like you always have the casual people who don't know much about wrestling that are going to be like, yeah, but you didn't like actually win it. But like you said, they don't see the years of work and stuff behind the scenes that goes into leading to that very moment, like you said. So Yeah, that's really, really awesome. I can't imagine how great that felt in that moment.
It was awesome. I had my wife there and my family, so I mean, it was a really cool moment for them to see me kind of get rewarded for all the hard work they've seen me put in too. So it was just a good night.
Do you have a favorite match of your career? Would it be that casket match, or do you have a different one that's your favorite match?
That's a hard. No, actually, my favorite match was it happened last year around actually around this time, around July. It was actually when I lost the New Blood Championship to Yukon Adams. And I mean, we had a Falls Count Anywhere. It was awesome. The build up was awesome. He was doing promoting. I was doing promoting. Everyone was hyped, and we actually put on a hell of a freaking match. I've gotten a lot of praise for that match still to this day. So that's probably my favorite match I've ever been in. Yukon doesn't really wrestle anymore, but me and him used to put in work when it came to the storytelling aspect. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome to hear. Is there like do you have a so I'll say both. Is there like a type of match that you've never been in that's like your dream match, or like I have to be in this type of match? And also, who is your dream opponent? Like anybody on the scene, you're like, in my career, I gotta like there's one person I could wrestle. I want to wrestle this person.
Man, great question. I've been in so many matches. I've been in a steel cage, I Quit, Falls Count Anywhere, Extreme Rules, caskets. I mean, you name it, I've done it. So as far as like a match I haven't competed in yet, I'd love to do a War Games match.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I've seen independent people do it before, so I know it can be done.
Yeah, I have seen it too. I've seen it at I've seen a couple. Didn't they do it at GCW or MLW? I feel like it might have been one of those.
MLW is the War Chamber.
Gotcha.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I've never watched it, but I know they do the War Chamber match. But I think that may be a little different.
Okay,
but yeah, definitely War Games. And as far as dream opponents go, man, it's not a match that's possible for me because of the dude's age, but I would have loved to get in there with Mick Foley. He's I'm more of a hardcore wrestler, and he's a huge inspiration. So
oh yeah, of course.
I would have loved to have a match with him.
Well, he's training for his last match. That could be against
Yeah,
you.
I know.
Maybe
man.
it could be against Cade Powers.
If I had enough clout, dude, I'd be all over that. I don't think I have quite enough clout for Mr. Foley, but that would be awesome.
We'll get you there. We're gonna do our best to help get you there.
Nice.
He made good old Cactus Jack made a lot of his great moments right down the street from where I am right now. So
yes.
So that's extremely cool to hear. I also had another
question.
Yeah,
it was cool being up there in Philadelphia to just be around all that. I can really feel the hardcore spirit.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, like we said before, we met Cade at WrestleMania. So like all the ECW theme stuff that was at WrestleMania, it was just, oh God, it was so good. So what I noticed a little bit, and I did a little bit of research, but tell me a little bit about the Bloodsport Fighting Coalition. It says you're the co-owner or something maybe about that, but just tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, man. It's kind of like I knew that this topic was going to be brought up later about my break from wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually starting up this promotion right now, so I'm trying to put all my energy towards Bloodsport Fighting Coalition, It's me and two of my good buddies. We're starting it up. And wrestling consumes a lot of my time. So I kind of just took a little sabbatical, probably until January, just to get this company off the ground. We're trying to aim for like an August launch. So I'm trying to just put all my energy into that. I want it to be something totally different than what's around Georgia right now. So
yeah, so is that a new wrestling promotion that you guys are building from the ground up?
yeah, building it from the ground up. So, it's a lot of hard work putting a show together and just getting talent, getting a venue, promos, all that stuff, man. I'm trying to make it top tier. So I kind of just took a little break from wrestling in ring. And yeah, man, I'm trying to make it the best it can be. I'm very excited for it.
Well, dude, that's awesome.
And it's always been a dream of mine to own my own company too, so
yeah, listen, man, awesome. We are that is all the respect in the world to you. You got two fans from the jump here, Bloodsport Fighting Coalition. We're in. I was keeping up a little. I was checking a little bit on the different signings you guys are posting. It seems like as far as the Facebook is concerned, you guys are. It seems like you guys are. I don't know. It seems exciting. It seems like there's a lot of fun stuff to come. That kind of covered a little bit of my next question, which was kind of like what's next to come for Cade Powers. And I guess the biggest thing is I know you have this will probably come out after that match. I know you have your last match for a little while this upcoming weekend. I think it is a 6-man tag.
Yeah, this Sunday.
And what company was that for?
Georgia. It's for Georgia Outlaw Wrestling.
Georgia Outlaw Wrestling, 6-man tag. Well, if we do clip this, make sure you get there. That's on June 9th, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah,
June 9th, this Sunday.
Georgia Outlaw Wrestling this Sunday. Cade Powers' last match for the foreseeable future for now, because there is a lot of good things to look forward to with the Bloodsport Fighting Coalition. It seems, I said, you definitely got a couple of new fans from the beginning. And listen, we're trying to kind of establish our name in the wrestling community, not only as because of how much we love wrestling so much and we love covering it and stuff. And we were just got so tired of unreliable dirt sheets and people claiming to be wrestling fans and then dedicating their lives to ruining the magic behind wrestling and posting a bunch of dirt sheet stuff. So we kind of took this upon ourselves to make it just kind of make a name and just make this fun and do everything we can to help wrestling, help guys like you, and hopefully maybe this connection that we're making now can help us down the line. We do know a few indie guys around here and stuff, so who knows down the line what we can make happen with the Bloodsport Fighting Coalition and different things in Cade Powers. But Cade,
I might be recruiting y'all right now to be my first set of commentators for Bloodsport.
Dude, you got it. That's our dream duo right here. Is you got it. That's our dream.
We need some commentators. We do.
Dude, we're in. You don't got to pay us nothing. You don't got to give us nothing. We are in. Like, trust me, brother. That is the amount of times that we talk about this guy doing the play-by-play. I'm on color. This guy knows just about every move in the book. And yeah, dude, this is we're in. We do whatever we gotta to prove it to you. So
nice.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's great to hear. Cade Powers, thank you so much for coming on. Mark, is there anything else that you wanted to ask Cade before we let him get out of here?
I would think a good way to end this is to send out some encouragement for Cade. So, Cade, if you have any words of advice for someone who wants to take that next step to become a professional wrestler, to actually just go out and do it? Why don't you give some people some encouragement on trying to get them to go do that?
I can say this, man. Getting into wrestling is one of the most hardest things ever. It's going to be painful. It's going to be rough. You're going to have late nights, early mornings, a lot of working out, a lot of stress, a lot of doubts. But at the end of the day, if you get through all the training, it is the most rewarding thing ever. So keep going for that sake, because the reward after all the hard work, all the late nights, all the doubts, all the tears, all the sweat, it's amazing. So keep grinding.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Cade Powers. Thank you once again. Cade, is there anywhere where the people can keep track of you and Bloodsport Fighting Coalition?
Hey, follow Bloodsport Fighting Coalition on Facebook. Follow Cade Powers on Facebook. And shout out to my home company, SWA Wrestling. Follow them on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Absolutely. You heard the man. Do all that. Thanks again, Cade. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on as our first official interview here. You got two Cade Powers
fans. Hey, I'm the
fans.
first interview? That's awesome. I did not realize that.
Yeah, first official interview here. So
y'all did a great job. This is my favorite podcast I've ever been on.
Oh, dude, thank you so much, Cade. We really appreciate that, man. I hope we knew it took us a little bit to get you on here. I just moved into an apartment, but trust me when I say we were, from the second we met you, we were so excited to have you on, and
man, no worries.
happy that we were able to make it happen.
I want to come back on down the line, man. I'm down to come back on. So
yeah, absolutely. Cade Powers will absolutely be back on the Burning Hammer podcast for sure, and hopefully, you never know, the Burning Hammer podcast can maybe make our way down and visit Bloodsport Fighting Coalition in the future as well. So thanks again. I'm Dillon O'Brien. That's Mark Izzo. That's Cade Powers.
Hey,
you know what
fellas.
to do. Thanks so much. Have a great night. This has been the Burning Hammer podcast.